You know, you played the first mission and then the third mission. You'll notice he was notably quieter in the third mission than he was in the first mission, and that's deliberate. We're trying to introduce people to the character, reintroduce them to the character in a lot of ways. We've said several times we're making the Master Chief's real character and history and background more important and more meaningful in this game. The reality is that the first mission is not indicative of the amount of content that the Chief is going to communicate to the player. That's really about teaching you how to play the game, who the Master Chief is, and what the relationship is between him and Cortana.
Wake up, Chief. I need you.
And by the end of maybe the second level, he's going to ease all the way off the gas and go back to being definitely recognizably the Chief. But I'm not going to underplay the fact that meaningful things are going to happen to him in this game. You're definitely going to see a little bit more of him than you have. But in terms of overall script, he's really not saying many more lines than he has in the prior games. We built a story that you absolutely don't need to have any grasp of the extended fiction to understand. It will all be self-contained. And I think you could, as a brand new player, get to the end of Halo 4 and have almost as complete an understanding of some of the more nuanced deep fiction as someone who's an expert in it right now has. And that's important. I think we can make our game a hurdle that people have to get over to understand. It's got to be an approachable, recognizable, and entertaining narrative for anybody with any level of experience in the Halo universe, because a lot of people are coming into this for the first time with Halo 4, or maybe only played games on the original Xbox and never got an Xbox 360. And there's all these sort of constituent audiences that give us a really simple challenge to overcome, which is just make sure that the story is entertaining and that it's self-contained and that it's completely comprehensible to all of those constituents. We at 343 Industries have a no appeasement doctrine, which is different than a no satisfaction doctrine, which we profoundly embrace satisfying people, but the universe has to move on, the gameplay has to move on, the technology evolves, gameplay systems evolve, and the story evolves. And I think the logical dead end to the conversation about don't change too much is that you don't change anything. And of course nobody would like that, then just go play Halo CE and that experience is there. We wanted to make a story in Halo 4 that could be approachable by any kind of player, deep fiction fans, complete neophytes, and anyone in between. But we realized that means that some of the things about the Halo fiction, the more baroque, subtle, nuanced, weird, deep, super hard sci-fi things they're just not all that they're not all that engrossing for much more mainstream audiences, and those people don't want to necessarily have their pretty visceral, exciting experience interrupted by, and that's in quotes, these really sort of deep looks into the universe. So we just made this really simple philosophical distinction. That stuff is there, and it's absolutely bigger and better than it's ever been in the past, but it's not going to interrupt the flow of the story for 90% of the audience. And then for the 10% of the audience who does want to enjoy that stuff, they can go do it in a clean, well-lighted place where they're not worried about a plasma grenade hitting them from behind while they're doing it. We were pretty smart this time around in terms of how we integrated design with narrative, and we were pretty lucky this time around in terms of how much stuff had to end up on the cutting room floor. And it's historically not a lot. Most of the story, most of the ordering of the narrative and the tone and the content of the narrative is actually intact from really the sort of first drafts. Our narrative team is both agile and flexible enough to be almost embedded with the design team so that decisions aren't happening in a vacuum. Surprises are minimal. And I think that often those cutting room floor moments happen through a lack of communication and a lack of agility and reflex on either side of that coin, But in reality, the narrative is it's guideposts for the game design, but it's absolutely subservient to the game design's needs. So it can light the way, but it can't become an obstacle, and it can't get in the way of the game design. The game has to be king. And if you have a good narrative design team and good storytellers who understand that, then a lot of those sort of road bumps become moot. And really it's been a long, difficult, challenging, tiring experience, but it honestly wasn't full of surprises or sudden changes or cuts. We're not going to eliminate the idea that you can have a cliffhanger thought or premise in a story, because those are actually useful. They're satisfying. You know, at the end of Star Wars, the Death Star is blown up, and you understand that's the end of the Star Wars story, but the Empire isn't defeated, and the Rebel Alliance isn't victorious. It's just done one small battle and a greater war. We'll definitely use that tact at the end of Halo 4, so you'll understand there's been an ending, but you'll also understand the saga is just beginning, and that's a pretty easy problem to solve.
I have long dreamt of this day, reclaiming